Welcome back to the Racial Draft Podcast special episode, special Captain America Brave New World coverage. I am still joined by my guy, TJ Stukes. TJ, what's up with people?
What up, leader of the Negroverse? I am here and we're going to talk about this marvelous movie.
Okay. Well, I see you had to get the jump on the puns. All right. I see what kind of party this is right now. But but anyway, we're going to talk about our president is black, but in this movie, our president is red. We can talk about all the different twists and turns of this controversial movie. It doesn't need to be that controversial. Let's just get right into the Rotten Tomatoes of it all. Normally, I don't like to give any credence to those guys and people's discourse, but it's important to note that a lot of the narrative over the last couple of days has been about how this movie is apparently not very good, quote unquote, one of the worst MCU movies. I think it's important that even as we analyze this movie critically, we kind of push back against that particular narrative. I definitely have my issues with the movie, and we can get into those issues, but I think that where we are now in terms of the MCU has shaped and influenced in an adverse way the way that people are talking about this movie and talking about the MCU overall. But before we do that, I want to, just kind of let you cook and talk about your thoughts about the movie.
All right. So I saw the movie with my family. We loved it. The action was amazing. I think it was a 10 out of 10, the action. The script, I'd say, was a solid 6. I feel like the reshoots, they could have done better with the reshoots. I don't know why they changed the Sidewinder. I don't know why they changed other characters. I don't care, Frank. Nobody cares except for the final product. And so I think the final product as a whole, I would give it a 7.5 out of 10. It was a good movie, had good action, and anybody saying that Anthony Mackie cannot be a lead role in the movie is a goddamn lie. And I think his Cap was great. I think Falcon was great. And I personally think, as usual, Marvel has, the MCU, has a villain problem.
Okay.
And I think the Ren pulling on the strings in the back, the leader, I think he was severely underutilized. I think that they promoted the movie similar with Batman versus Superman. Like there was Superman that was going to fight the conflict is going to be there the whole time, and they're going to resolve it, and it's going to be a great, really short once, and it stopped over a name.
No, nothing. Not the actor of it all.
Black ladies, Wagner.
So I don't disagree with a lot of what you're saying. I kind of felt differently about the promotion of the movie. I think that the Red Hulk, again, well, full spoilers for this. We're going to talk about the movie.
Full spoilers.
So yeah, if you haven't seen the movie, pause, see the movie, come back. We're going to talk about it. I think that the movie was definitely hampered by us knowing exactly when and where the Red Hulk was going to show up. I think that this was not a movie that benefited from you knowing that the Red Hulk was going to show up and when he was going to show up, because a lot of the scenes somewhat fall flat because it's still building to that moment. And and because of the fact that Ross is positioned as this hero, but someone who's trying to redeem himself, because you know that the redemption's not coming and it's building up to him becoming the Red Hulk and fighting Sam, a lot of the choices of the story kind of fall a little bit flat because I think again, I agree with you. I think that with the leader, with Samuel Stearns, I think that what the movie overall, I think the movie suffers from a show don't tell problem. One of the first rules of screenwriting is that you want to show things more than tell them. And this movie constantly had exposition delivered to us instead of arcs and character choices laying out in front of us.
Yeah.
And I think that, as much as I love Giancarlo Esposito, as much as I think he's a great actor, I think that he was saddled with all too often being the character that had to explain what was happening more so than actually just be a character and interact with Sam and with everyone else. And granted, we know, unfortunately, we know too much about how movies get made now. So we know that this was a character that was added in rewrites. And knowing that as you watch the movie, it's blatantly obvious that this is a character that was kind of added in later and was not part of the story from the inception. And for that reason, the things that he does seem like plot mechanics more than being a fully formed character. That's unfortunate because we know that he can deliver the goods if he's got the goods to deliver. We can talk about the villain props. Again, I don't think that this is an MCU-wide problem. I think that this was really an MCU problem that was mostly resolved. But I think that what happened in this movie is they sort of reverted to some of the poor choices that some of these earlier movies made, particularly when you deal with, the Serpent Society was never meant to ever be more than just kind of B-tier jobber villains for the big bad, that you face before you face the big bad. But in this movie, you're dealing with a leader who's not really a physical threat. So all he can really do is move chess pieces around, and you're going to love or hate him. You're going to love or hate him based on how well he can move the chess pieces around. And unfortunately, again, this is a movie that showed rather than told. It told us that he was this genius that was able to strategize all these different probabilities and think multiple steps ahead and get people into positions that he wanted them to be. As we saw the movie play out, that didn't really happen as much as we would have liked from a true master strategist. Compared to him compared to Zemo in Civil War. Just based on what we saw in front of us in the two movies, wouldn't you say that Zemo was better at his job than the leader was?
I'd say Zemo, he didn't account for people, for the human era. He just didn't give a fuck. He was like, I want to make this shit happen one way or another. I don't give a fuck about percentages. I don't give a fuck about this. I want to make this shit happen. Now,
and that's what I'm saying. By and large,
he's better. Yeah, he's definitely better.
But based on what the resume of the leader is supposed to be, based on how they explained who he's supposed to be, this 16-year master plan genius with a gamma enhanced brain, his plan shouldn't have been that easy to figure out. He should have had backup plans on top of backup plans on top of backup plans that if one thing doesn't go, he's got another thing, all set up. And, he should have, the cliche of three-dimensional chess, is one that people bring up a lot. I didn't see that in this movie. I saw someone who has, and again, maybe this was a rewrite problem, a sleep problem, but I saw someone whose plot was quickly unraveled, and yes, he ultimately got Ross turned into Red Hulk. But even unless that was his only goal, I wouldn't say he won.
Remember, in the small spoilers, right? It's full spoilers?
Yeah, full
spoilers. Okay, so remember when he said to Sam, he was like, you messed up one thing with my plan, and now I have to turn myself into my plan.
Did he really have to do that?
I guess he did.
He just turned that video over to the, had it left it hooked into the internet, and put the footage out there on people's front, like, you know what I mean? He wants to show himself in order for the plan to work. That just seemed like something where, that just seemed like something where he said, okay, so I'm not, like, just told us I don't see myself in order for this plan to work. Really? Not really. Um, there are any number of ways that he could have discredited Ross and got Ross to Hulk out. I definitely think it was bad character, out of character when, Sam is able to save the World War III or whatever you want to call it from breaking out at Celestial Island. And, and he's trying to get Ross to Hulk out at that point. Now, if we're being honest, the movie that showed us over and over again that Ross was going to Hulk out on the White House lawn, if you had hulked out then in that scene, that would have been genuinely shocking. You know what I mean? If he would have hulked out prematurely and done some damage, and threw some planes around, like, damn, we would have been like, coming. We thought he was going to turn into a movie.
Yeah.
If they would have done something where he turned into the Hulk earlier, and then they covered it up, only for him to turn into Hulk later, at least that would have given the movie, some more twists and turns, some more surprises.
Definitely.
Which again, this is a movie that was trying to be as intriguing and as espionage, so to speak, as Captain America Winter Soldier. And in every possible way, it fell short of that. Again, I'm not saying it was a bad movie, but I am saying that what it set out to do, with the exception of the action, which I agree, the action was the high point of the movie, with the exception of the action sequences, story-wise, it left a lot to be desired. Script-wise, dialogue-wise, left a lot to be desired. And it didn't even give us huge reveals and huge twists that a movie like Winter Soldier gave us. And I think it needed that. I think it needed something that we couldn't figure out by watching the trailer. Like, if you watch all of the trailers, you probably could have more or less predicted all the different beats and plot and turns of the plot of the movie.
My man's died, and the new seal man, like, that was my guy. Like, he lives. And then boom, he gets a heart attack. I'm like, there's no
And I didn't even realize that Dumphy. You didn't realize that Dumphy was supposed to be D-Man from the comics. I don't know if you're a fan of this character. Yeah, it didn't hit me until someone was talking about it. I was like, oh yeah, his name was Dumphy. Like, he was a likable character, but they didn't give him a lot to do. We didn't feel it really. I mean, we felt it, but we didn't feel it like we should have because the movie didn't give us a lot of time to, build an attachment to the character. I was happy that they didn't kill Javier Joaquin. I was happy they didn't kill Joaquin, but also he got taken out at exactly the time in the movie where you expect him to get taken out. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, oh, we're having this big battle. There's one extra bomb. He's got to throw himself in front of the bomb. He's like, which? And boom. Now Joaquin's off the board. Now it's just saying, like, and again, it's not a knock because there are a lot of predictable movies that can still be entertaining. But I think that in order to really rock people's world, in order to really give people, maximum satisfaction, like, it needed to give us something that we didn't expect. And it was mostly stuff that we expected.
I feel like, okay, so that I hate where this movie too is like very similar is to Dragon Ball Super Broly, right? Now hear me.
I don't know anything about Dragon Ball, so I'm gonna let you go there.
Okay. So they showed the initial trailers. Nobody knew who it was. Nobody knew, like eventually figured out it was the main character was Broly, like the opposition, right? But they revealed something so big a week before the movie was coming out. And it was, the character Goku and Vegeta,
I've heard of them. Go on.
They fused into one different character. And which made that part of the story the canon. For almost 3 decades was a canon.
Okay.
And so they made him kill it, but they showed it a week before the movie was supposed to come out.
Right. So they didn't even give you that in the movie. They gave you that in the trailer.
And still, I think that the biggest mistake they could have done, I think the shock factor went away from seeing Gogeta was seeing in the trailer and fighting the same exact things when Red Hulk in the trailer. I think took away. So just imagine if we had an idea, if we see that scene in the name, we're like, shit. Just imagine we didn't see that in the trailer and the permission like art or you're like, hey, he's about to turn it. What? Fuck out of here now. And then he turns to it. I think that screen time, the minimal screen time, is like the best if you didn't promote it like that.
Yeah, but here's the problem. The problem is that without Red Hulk in the promotion, who was gonna be the villain that we're gonna believe was the primary threat of the movie? Because as much as I like Giancarlo, like nobody can tell you about Sidewinder, nobody can tell you about Serpent Society. They're not iconic villains. And again, like I said before, the leader, he's not a physical threat. You know, like what they would have had to do, and I think they could have pulled it off, but what they would have had to do is sell us on the idea that he's got this like mind control power, mind control technology, and that he was able to potentially turn anyone against Chap. And then maybe you could have believed that the movie would have just been about that, and then the Red Hulk thing would have been a shocker. But because that's not a compelling enough story, I don't think. Taking the, if you're, it's because again, before we got that trailer, right, when it was just President Ross, I said to myself, well, it's possible that they could do that before they revealed Red Hulk. I said, it's possible they could do a movie where they tease Red Hulk, for the post credits. They do a different movie where where Ross is in the movie and, you set up him becoming Red Hulk, but you don't necessarily have it happen in the movie. But everything that we were getting in terms of who the other threats were, it didn't sell you on the idea that there was anybody else for him to fight Red Hulk. There was like, again, the Serpent Society, there wasn't like a second boss, a second henchman. There wasn't like, somebody somebody repositioned, repurposed. Like they didn't even bring back like John Walker, like someone that you could say like, oh man, yeah, he's going to be a song, like everybody that they were presenting to us was someone that we figured would be like late work for Sam, except for Red Hulk. And I guess now is a good time to get into the Ruth Atzarath of it all. You know, um, I I understand. Let's get this off. Let's get this deal with this right off the bat. I understand the geopolitics, the Israeli-Palestinian issues that have been happening for the last year or so, and I understand why people take issue with there being a character who, in the comics, is very problematic, very anti-Palestinian, very Zionist, and I understand why, from a lot of people's perspectives, even trying to reimagine that character and redeem that character in a different kind of way is beyond the pale.
Yes.
But that was the decision that Marvel decided to make, right? They say, we want to have an Israeli character in our movie, and we want to make this character Asian. So once you say you want to do that, and you stick to your guns, you have to actually make that character work. And I think they tried to have it both ways. I think they tried to, when the controversy became a bigger controversy, I think they tried to basically be like, no, she's not a major part of the movie. I don't think that the character works if you don't flesh her out. I don't think the character works if you don't give her a backstory, give her a motivation, give her a reason, to care that she starts off on one side of the equation, backing up Ross, and then ends up on the other side of the equation, backing up Sloan. If you don't imbue that character with importance, if you don't give that character a heart, if you don't give that character a reason, why is she there in the first place? Question was never answered, right? Question was never answered. At least, and, because, you can parallel her to Black Widow, right? And I think that that's what they wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
So Black Widow was introduced in Iron Man 2. And obviously, at that point, everybody knew who Black Widow was. So she's in the movie, but we know that we're just waiting for her to reveal herself as Black Widow. But at least in that movie, she's a shield agent, right? And it's explained that she was embedded in the company to keep tabs on Tony, but then, she reveals herself to be a shield agent, and she's part of the process of trying to recruit him for either Field or the Avengers. But it's right? She's, and most of the time, Black Widow has her own agenda in other movies. So when you see her in Captain America, Winter Soldier, even though we got this romantic tension, sexual tension with Steve, where it's a little flirtation, that she's got a little bit more edge to her. She's got a little bit more, she's gonna go to places, darker places than Steve's gonna go because of her history as a Black Widow. And so because her primary allegiance is to Steve, right? So when Steve decides, I'm not fucking with Shield anymore, when she finds out that she fought all this time, that she was working on the good side in order to clean the red out of her ledger, only to find out that Shield was compromised by Hydra, that reveal hits on multiple levels, because for her and what we know she's all about, it's a massive betrayal to find out that someone who was trying to be a good guy is now was all this time working, for the bad guy.
Yeah.
And then that's why it's important that she joins up with Steve and that she, tries to clean it up.
Yeah.
Storytelling, right? You have a main character, you know what the main character's trying to do, and then you find out that the main character, in order to do what they were trying to do, has its own sides. None of that happened in this movie. You just had a character. You just had a character that was like, "Whoa, shit!" He was watching a videotape, and I saw that there was some chicanery, and I guess now I guess I'm on the other side now. It was unfortunate, because I do think that the actress, Shira Haas, I do think she's a good actress, but I don't think they gave her material to show us that. She had one action sequence, which I imagine was supposed to be her big moment, but it fell flat. Again, it falls flat because we're not given enough reason to care about her. She's not Captain America. She's not even the Falcon. She's the third wheel. And while we're expected to understand that her joining up with them is supposed to mean something, within the context of the movie, it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah. Yeah. The one thing that I really, really didn't like about her character was the Black Widow. Just to make it make sense. My big thing is tell the why, make us understand the why, and have the why apply to the story. So
but that's what I'm saying. There was never a why gift.
Yeah. There was okay, why is she so good at fighting? That makes fucking sense. She's a Black Widow. Okay. There was no why, and to compound what you said, when Black Widow was Black Widowing, she would, it took multiple movies to get that story. And I don't think that she's a multiple movie character. I think she
definitely not from the way they played her out in this movie. But what I'm saying is that they easily even again going back. I know I talked about show don't tell, but clearly most of us have seen the Black Widow movie, right? We know Ross was in that movie.
He definitely
right?
was.
We know that Natasha was instrumental in bringing down the Red Room, right? It wouldn't have been that hard for them to say, um, well, yeah, she used to be part of the Red Room, used to be one of the widows, and for the last however many years, he's been by my side, taking down former Black widows and recruiting Black widow. You know what I mean? Like that, because again, you could just give her 5 minutes, not even 5 minutes, 3 minutes to say, yeah, I did some really messed up things when I was a widow. I took part in atrocities, I took part in genocides, I did a lot of, dirty stuff. But I believe in Ross, and just like I can change, I believe that Ross can change too. Like
Which makes a great segue from the Black Widow movie and expanding on
yes.
it in 3 minutes. Like you did, like I knew that.
Right. So
And she's
then,
a
that's what I'm saying. So then, when she finds out, if she finds out that, like, no, she has to find out. But then when she finds out that Ross was actually not, was still conspiring with the bad guys, to get power. Again, it's similar, but not exactly the same, but similar to what happens with Insomnia, where she's like, "Next when I was redeeming myself, I thought I was working, for a better world. And now I'm finding out that you're using, that I've been used even again. You're trying to make me into another black, like, you think I was moving away from being a Black Widow, but I'm just in your Black Widow all the time. Now you're like, whoa, now she's got, she got a little of influence. Some of her other people's. But now you could say, and now when Kat steps up and says, well, I know you have a heroic intention. I know you want to do the right thing. Come on to outside. Come join up with Team. That works. Like we're not what we believe in. We don't just believe in blindly following authority. We believe in standing for what's right. And you've learned that in order to stand for what's right, you have to go against the person.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
I'm like,
That's be wrapped up in not even a room, not even an arc. Like
saying like it wouldn't have like you would have only had to maybe add 5 minutes to the movie to to flesh that part out. But then maybe people do want to see her in another movie.
yeah,
Maybe people do want to see like, okay, she's maybe again, there are going to be some people who are going to say, well, the fact she's Israeli, we don't want to see her at all, right?
yeah.
But for the people, right? But for the people who that's not a deal breaker for, if they just want to see a good character, then if they just want to see a good character, then they will be like, okay, she's kind of, she can play like a trilogy, like she seems like she's got a good head on her shoulder, especially again, like they don't have to like. Obviously, there was a version which I've never read, a version of the script where she actually was an Israeli agent, But once they take that out of the character and they say that she used to be,
Used to
right?
be.
Used to be. Now you can say, well, I saw the error of their ways. I saw what they were getting up to, and I didn't want any parts of that. That's a redemption arc. Like the stuff that I did when I was working, for the Mossad or when I was working for the widows or whatever, the stuff that I did, I'm not proud of. Like the same people, well, again, not the same, but similar people who would say, making it an Israeli hero in this particular climate, is irresponsible. But you're now dealing with someone who repudiates all of that. You'd be dealing with someone who says, like, I don't approve of some of the things that the Mossad does. I don't approve of some of the things that, that are done in the name of nationalism. Like it actually makes her a better character that, she started out in this place where she would just blindly follow authority. And now she's unshackling that part of her personality. And now she's working well, for the greater good. You know what I mean?
Let me throw something at you. I feel To give her any redemption, she should be the head of the young Avengers.
She's not that young.
I mean, the head, like you know how like the Avengers answer to
Well, this goes back to the whole argument that like we're long overdue for Shield to make a comeback.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like it's if not Shield, then some kind of organization that's similar to Shield. You know what I mean? Like
Is Sword dismantled? No,
well,
right?
here you get we haven't seen officially. We haven't seen Sword since.
Secret Invasion or not?
No, he wasn't. That wasn't even technically Sword. We haven't seen
That's true.
Sword. We haven't seen Sword since WandaVision. Officially.
Hmm.
That's one of my pet peeves. One of my pet peeves is that in the early, like in phase 4, like that's the one right after Endgame, right? Phase 4.
Yes.
Phase 4 introduced a bunch of different organizations, but then never actually followed through with any of that. And one of my pet peeves is that they should have made either a replacement for Shield or brought Shield back. And maybe Secret Invasion would have been the best time to do it. Maybe the Marvels would have been the best time to do it. But either way, if there was an organization that you could now slot these people under, because a lot of people are just ex-Shield agents, ex-Black Widows, Hydra, like the benefit of having these groups, like in a spy movie, which this movie tries to be, is you know what they're all about. You don't need to get into let's talk about this movie, the Serpent Society, which in this movie is just called Serpent, right? In the comics, the Serpent Society is not really, they're not a mercenary group. They're just supervillains, right?
Yeah.
But this movie wanted to reimagine them as mercenaries. But you know what you easily could have done? You could have said, again, 30 seconds of dialogue. Serpent were former Hydra agents that were embedded in S.H.I.E.L.D., that decided to go private, and instead of serving the Hydra ideology, now they're just all about making money. Now you know what they're all about, and now you know that their leader, Giancarlo Esposito's Sidewinder, now you can understand that his agenda is a little bit more loose, right? His agenda is like, he doesn't believe in governments. He doesn't believe in, politics. He doesn't believe in cold hard cash, So to the extent that he might be destabilizing the U.S. government, he's like, as long as the chess clear, I'm all good. You know what I mean? Like now you have a character that's got some motivations. Now you can understand that like why he would be working with a guy like the leader. Because the leader uses people, and the leader can basically be like, you're going to get paid if you do this thing. And because you don't really have goals except profits, I can move you around and sacrifice. That's the other thing that Serpent should have had. It would have just been 2 guys. I mean, I know they technically had other guys, but they only really had 2. Like, but only really 2 that we knew, right? We had the one guy that fought Sam in the first scene, and got his arm broken, and then Giancarlo, right? If they would have had like, you know, 3 or 4 named characters that Sam had to take out in order to even get to Giancarlo, right? Not only would that have benefited Giancarlo's character and Serpent as an organization, because it's got you've got multiple serpents, right? Multiple people with snake code names, right? Not only would you can made them progressively tougher, just like a video game, right? Gun level boss, second level boss, in order to get to Giancarlo, who, at that point is just like, I'm in charge, right? But the benefit of that is that to the extent that Stearns, the leader, was using them, it shows that he's willing to sacrifice people for his end game, whatever that end game is, And because again, I keep falling back on the idea. The movie tried to tell us. The movie tried to tell us that for 16 years, he was working behind the scenes alongside Ross in order to what exactly? You know what I mean? Like, because the one thing that we know that that he accomplished was helping Ross get elected president, which is fine, you know? But like for 16 years, 16 years, that's the only thing they accomplished. Was that the only thing they accomplished in time?
I mean, I'm thinking, man, to put a so as soon as the movie opened, right, it was saying President Russ's films.
Wait, saying
Like
President
he's
Ross is
not
what?
like his main fuck up. Like he was like, well, he's bad. He had a meltdown and this and that. And I don't know. Like, yeah. So, oh,
That's what I'm saying. They were saying that like, who would have expected that someone who fucked up that badly would become the president, right? So yeah, I understand the logic that it took him 16 years to maneuver him into the White House, right? But was that really the only thing that only thing that he did? Because it seems like I think that there's non super geniuses, comic book level masterminds that can put someone in the White House. All you need is money on a certain level. No,
the
it's
third
like
level.
people that have run for president, but with a certain amount of money, you can get people into power that are not qualified for the position. So, like, it's not enough in my mind that all he did was back his presidential campaign. You got to show more. You got to show more in terms of his accomplishments, right? Let's be honest. I mean, in sense, my friend before he got mad, but I was like, did you predict Thanos? Because it's been a pretty big thing. There's been a pretty big thing on his agenda to be like, oh yeah, by the way, my probabilities are telling me that there's going to be an alien invasion. It's going to take half the population away. You might want to get on that.
Well, my thing was a thing, right? You got to think, right? Hey, the twist of the movie that, well, not a twist, the more of one of the chess pieces in the movie was that the leader used a CIA account to pay somebody to steal the adamantium. And that's how far he's in. Like, he got the president, he's like, okay, he got president, he's happy, okay, he's out the way now. All right. So I'm going to try to steal this mill where I know it's going to fucking help you. And I'm going to make it seem like it was the American government stealing from the Japanese government. So I push it from this middle. And so when I was like, yeah, like that's a lot of gymnastics, but they should have said that in a lot of terms. Just a very simple, like, I get it that it's part of the story, but I had to figure that out from their dialogue. Like, oh, you can sell that. Oh, you can do this.
But again, I mean, not to say that like it doesn't take a lot of savvy to pull that off, but like, sadly, we know that the CIA does stuff like that all the time. You know what I mean? Like, wouldn't like if in reality, if the president was told, you did this shady thing, and it was a CIA account that did it, right? His reaction might have been more likely. His reaction would have been like, meet a CIA director on the phone so I can verify this. Which again, ironically, who's the CIA director based on what we know? Valentina.
Valentino.
Who conveniently did not appear in this movie in any way, shape, or form.
And this is how much
We know is a shady character. Like, the pieces don't always fit, right? Because we know that this is a shady character that works very closely with the administration. Like, so, and we know this was a character that in Black Panther Wakanda Forever was trying to get vibranium. Like, that wouldn't be show if I was the president to find out that the CIA tried to steal some adamantium based on her progress record. Like, you know what I'm saying? That again, this is where like knowing all, like, ironically, this is where us as listeners, as viewers of these movies that have followed the movie so closely can put the puzzle pieces together better than the movie itself did. you know, because you have a calendar that's supposed to be 10 steps ahead of us. But when we think about it, we're like, yeah, of course he could do that.
Yeah.
Of course, if he's got access to everything else he's got access to, if he can mind control people, and you know, even if we assume that Ross didn't know that Stearns could mind control people.
Yeah.
Once he's told by Sam that he's got the ability to mind control people, then everything's on the table, right? You know, you've been working with this guy. You know, you've been working. This guy has a bone to pick with you. You know what I mean? Like, so I get you not wanting to reveal to the Japanese that you fucked up. Like, you should have known you fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, you should have. Oh,
because he threw rocks and he was like he was like okay, like he's gonna be, but I know he's wrong and I know I'm wrong, but I'm gonna keep from here and I have to redeem myself somehow, some way, not just with my dope that I actually give a fuck about, but
the American people. Like, he's trying to get trying to have some like moral high ground, some moral indignation, religious indignation when they accused him, when the Japanese president accused him of stealing. Well,
insulting.
My guy, you've been working with a genius who's now told you that he's trying to sabotage. Like, give them, at the very least, instead of religion thought that it was a fabrication, he should know that his guy that he was working with is a good enough fabricator of evidence to where he can't even be mad about it. You know what I mean? Like, he should have been like, hey, just so you know, I don't want to tell you all the details, but you've been played. You know what I mean? I'm not mad about it, you know, because I got played too. You know, like, we're trying to work it out. We got Captain America on the job. We got somebody on the job trying to like deal, you know, let me fix this. But instead he was like, shit. No, I was waiting. It's like, what? Are you the guy? Like, we don't say something. Like, oh,
Yeah.
right. And again, I just feel like this was a situation where, and I think this was a situation where they were worried that the movie would be hard to follow for the audience.
Yeah.
And they dumbed it down, but to the detriment of the movie, you know? Like, that you introduce a character who's supposed to be 10 steps ahead of everybody, you're going to actually show that the character has plans within plans, you know, and you use flashbacks if you need to, you know what I mean? Use flashbacks if you need to show that when you thought one thing was happening, that something else was happening. You know what I mean? Like, if they would have had, like, you know, a scenario play out, like, where it looks like Captain America's saving the situation, but then you show someone in the shadows, like, working, you know, and like sending it, you know what I mean? Like, again, that's a don't tell situation. That's a situation where you put it on the screen and you let the characters, you know, you let that be shown to the audience instead of having another scene where Giancarlo Esposito explains, "Mayor told me that it would be able to follow the story. So let me tell you, audience, if the plan is, you know what I mean? Like, it was unfortunate because you gotta have faith in the audience. You gotta have faith, A, in the story that you're planning to tell, and B, in being able, you know, and having the audience follow that story so that when a reveal happens, it maximizes the impact, you know? But if you're not giving people a fully developed story, then those reveals are not going to have any impact. And that's where I feel like the movie, you know, struggled a lot. Like, I could tell you what they were trying to do, and you know where they ultimately went was okay. It was, you know, like, even going back to the whole thing about, you know, what it's funny that you mentioned the Martha moment. Because, you know, what I was thinking of is the moment, remember in Justice League, where the Justice League is fighting Superman, and then Lois Lane shows up, and that causes him to like stop wilding out.
Okay.
Like that was what I was thinking about when I was thinking about how like Sam, uses the orchids and he's like,
Gotcha.
you know, I just expected Betty to show up at that scene. I expected Betty to come through and be like, and then he realizes, or it was wasted for me. Like, you telling me if you make the leader couldn't predict this, we're not going to predict, like, if he's confronted with how far he's fallen, that he won't revert to, that you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
know this guy. You know his primary motivation. The reason that he did everything that he wanted to do was because he wanted his daughter to forgive him. And you even know that the thing that set him loose, the first trigger that set him loose was, oh, my word, forgive you. Like,
Yeah.
you gotta clean that. You know what I mean? You gotta make sure that that he believes that. And you can't just make it so that one little speech from Sam can calm me right the fuck down like that.
But the one thing I was confused about, a little bit confused, because the Red Hook was never savage. He always kept his intelligence. And, like, he was coherent and he talked. And this is the first time that I can remember Red Hook was a savage.
Yeah, well, that's because again, that was a situation where the movie didn't want to do that work. No offense, I'm sure a lot of people worked hard on the movie, but a movie where he maintains his intelligence. Now you have to write a different agenda, right?
Yes.
Now, I was kicking around some ideas earlier on into the day, so indulge me for a second, right? Like, so we know what happens in the post-credit scene, right?
Yes.
We know where, one of the first times where we actually believe that the leader is thinking multiple steps ahead, right? And he goes like, could have been executed better, but he basically talks about how there's a multiverse and that there are other people from other worlds. I would have preferred if he said universes, but fine,
Yeah.
who are coming, right? Now imagine if his real agenda was that he wanted him to be the Hulk because he knew that in order to like that the Avengers team they needed to fight the threats that were coming needed to be more, so to speak. You know what I mean? Like the existing Avengers didn't have what it took. They were too wholesome and too concerned about doing the right thing. But they needed a ruthless Avengers team, and making him into a Red Hulk was the first step to creating a more ruthless Avengers team. You
So,
know,
so we're going to see. Are you suggesting, right, from that? Are you
I'm just saying that imagine if that was his real purpose of
That's what
making
I'm
him into
saying.
the Red Hulk. You
Like,
know,
that makes so much sense. And the thing is like, that could lead up to, like, immediately the developments, right?
Yeah.
And now, like, we joked about this a few times. What's testing us? We only see the ruts. And so it's like,
more like the Century. You know what I mean? Like the Century. Like again, that ties. I mean, we haven't seen Thunderbolts, so we don't know what's going to happen in the movie, right? But doesn't it make a lot more sense if he's thinking multiple steps ahead? If the leader's thinking multiple steps ahead, and he's saying, "Look, we need an Avengers team that that doesn't take any shit. No, we need an Avengers team that's willing to kill people like at a moment, like willing to kill an entire universe if need be to
yeah,
protect our universe, right? And imagine if he had said like, my goal is actually have you become a Hulk, but stay the president. You know, like not doing a rampage and have to not going to rampage and have to step down from office, but be like, this is your president now. You have fucking hope for the president. Like I'm red and I'm gigantic, but like I didn't break any laws. You know,
they have like a version of that, the comics, like a small version, President Hulk.
not that I can recall, but maybe. But you see what I'm saying? Like, imagine if that was the twist. But he became the Hulk, then they go on a rampage, you know? And he was just like, yeah, you're president now. Like, and then Sam tried to like challenge him, but like technically the president did nothing wrong because, he's the
It wasn't good.
president. No, what I'm saying is that you're not getting impeached for being a Hulk. You know what I mean? Like, you get impeached for breaking the law. You know, like, so if he turns into a Hulk, gives a speech, like, doesn't go with Harvey, like, it's just like, you're the Hulk, and I'm the president, I'm the president and I'm a Hulk. And in the future, like, I'm going to lead the event. You know what I mean? Like, basically, he was like, if the real twist, if the real goal was like, he started out saying that Sam should be in the Avengers, but where he needed to be was, no, I'm going to lead the Avengers, or rather, the Thunderbolts. Yeah.
For a while.
What did you say?
And that's the leader of the Dark Avengers for a while.
Well, one incarnation, right? But the point is, but just imagine if he was said, like, imagine how people would have been if he was like, F this guy, F Sam Wilson, F Captain America. You don't need Captain America when you have a president, when you have when you have a president that's going to be the Hulk, right?
Yeah.
And basically, like, again, the movie would have to play out differently, right? But if the idea was like he doesn't get redeemed, he doesn't get redeemed. He actually decides that, fuck redemption, fuck getting my daughter's love, like this is who I have to be now. I have to be the Red Hulk. And then you can cut to the leader being like, perfect. This was my plan all along. Your thought, like, it's almost like in Star Wars, Anakin to the dark side, but differently because we knew he was going to turn to the dark side.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like where
it just seemed like it was his plan.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I did all of this. I pushed him to the brink. I gave him a taste of the possibility of redemption, but then he had to choose that, no, I'm not going to give up power. I'm not going to give up the presidency. I'm going to be your president, and I'm going to be a Hulk.
Crazy. That would be real.
You know what I mean? So then when you have like the Thunderbolts, right? You have obviously that story would have to change, but basically the idea is that, this is going to be his team. These are going to be his guys, trying to put together. Because at that point, you could say, look, there are some threats coming that are beyond our comprehension. And we have to put together a team that's willing to do the dirty work that the Avengers couldn't do. We have to be willing to, to murder if need be. Yeah. And that's why we recruited you. That's why you fit for this team, because
I got some. Hold on, I got some with that, right? With Thunderbolts being ruled on and having Sentry, right? I think this is just me. I think that the Sentry is from a different universe. That's just my thoughts. I think this Sentry in the Thunderbolts is from a different universe. That's why they're so concerned with how he looks, so concerned in like, having him like, because we seen the trailer on the Thunderbolts where they have the different hairstyles and the different suit styles and all that stuff. And I think that they're trying to make him into something that he doesn't know what it is. Like,
yeah, I don't. So I think it's. I mean, again, we're all speculating.
Yeah,
bear with us, listeners. But so I don't think it's going to be that he's from another universe. But I do think that his powers might be multiversal in origin.
I sincerely think a lot of is his power source. That's just me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it makes sense because you have the Void, and of course the Void is where Elias is from. You know what I mean? So like, I can buy that, and I can also buy that, in the trailer when he's throwing people into like shadows, it's a place the place that he's sending them is like, he's not killing them, he's sending them into another dimension, right? So like, I can buy that they found a way to tap into extra dimensional energies, and that's where the Sentry's powers came from. And that might also be why he's like unbalanced, because he's got different personalities of different Robert Reynolds from different other universes, and that's what confuses him. And again, that could tie into this idea that they are trying to put together an Avengers team, or the Thunderbolts, like you said, but a team of people who are willing to do the dirty work that the Avengers wouldn't do. That it's like,
Facts.
and then second, you tie it back to the Sokovia Accords if you really want to think about it, because what Sokovia Accords about, getting all of the information about all of the enhanced beings so that they can be under government control. Like if you then said that was the leader came up with the idea of Sokovia Accords because he wanted to consolidate all of the powered people and figure out which ones were willing to play ball and which ones weren't, and that was part of his plan to like engineer the conflict so that whoever emerged, whoever stayed loyal to the government, those would be the people who he would recruit. And the ones who, went the other way, guys like Steve Rogers, guys like at one point Falcon, like those guys wouldn't be good fits for the team that they need.
Have you told
Again,
Andy this?
what you saying?
Have you told Andy this?
Have not. But the thing is, because what that does is that redeems the leader. Because then it shows that the leader is thinking steps ahead. He's thinking past, right? He's thinking past this movie. He's not just thinking about petty revenge. He might pay lip service to the idea that he's thinking about petty revenge, but in reality, what he wants is to save the universe. And then that line, remember that line when he kills Dunphy and he says, right?
Yeah.
It makes a lot more sense if his goal was build a team so that when these multiversal incursions start and they have to start choosing between universes, their universe has to die so that our universe can live. You can't expect the original core Avengers to make those kinds of choices. You can't expect them to sacrifice. I mean, that's like the opposite of Steve Rogers' MO, right? We don't sacrifice lives, right? So he needs a team of people who are willing to sacrifice lives. He needs a Captain America who is a super soldier, who is willing to compromise. He needs a Black Widow who's not as concerned about redemption. All of these like different, all these different people, all these different powered individuals who are, again, will be a great time to bring back New York, right? Where it's like, look, we don't see eye to eye, but in order to save the ocean, you got to save the planet. In order to save the planet, you got to kill this universe. You know what I mean? Like that to me, it's like people have joked about Dark Avengers as an idea, as a concept, but when you explain it as this is an Avengers team that has to do Earth, it has to be willing to go to quote unquote the dark places. They might not have to be called the Dark Avengers, but the concept of the Dark Avengers, and this being the birthplace, or at least the introduction of the idea of these Dark Avengers, of these Avengers that are willing to, not try to be the good guys all the time. I mean, if you watch Invincible,
I do. I've got to catch up on recent episodes.
So, no big spoilers for the show, but one of the characters is presented with the idea. They say you can be the good guy or you can save the world. You can't do both. Like that's great ethos for a character that, that says, like, you guys are more concerned with being the good guys than
saving the world. Yeah.
And we need a team of Avengers. We need a team of the Avengers that is willing to do the hard thing and not the good thing. And imagine if that's what this movie was building up to. Imagine if that was the brave new world that the movie was trying to bring about. This world where, now the United States of America's president is a soul.
Yeah,
And
that's
then imagine if that's the ending where like America's, might have been driven underground, and like he has to put together his team of true believers, and one takes him to the Avengers team. It's in opposition to this team. Again, it's a better ending, but I think it's an ending that's a little bit more satisfying and gives people like something that they didn't expect. You know?
yeah. I think that they truly dropped the ball with the post credit scene. I think they're not just they're beelining to sequels now. It's not no slow build up, not no, oh my god, is that him? No, it's like we're telling a normal human being with the stars and stripes that there's other worlds out there. Now, remember when Steve Rogers went to space? It was like, hey, shit, what the fuck is all this shit? And then now you're telling Sam Wilson that there's other universes out there. And, how, like, from Endgame, he figured it out. Okay, there gotta be different universes because this guy's still existing, right? But now he's hearing that from a villain.
Also, aside everything that I said for the last 10 minutes, right? About like what he could have meant, right? You know what really could have hit? You know what really could have hit? If he was like, and there's another Steve Rogers. Because I know what's the name has been I know Chris Evans has been denying, that he's coming back.
For years,
Like,
he's been trying this.
yes.
Coming back.
Like, but like, if there's an evil Steve, imagine, you know what I mean? And of course there is, right? But like, imagine Sam being presented with that. Imagine imagine the jaw dropping moment of like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when the other Steve, when the other Captain America, you know, the other Captain America who's just as committed, especially because you had that line of dialogue about how like, which again I thought was a bad exchange dialogue wise, about when he's talking about how like Steve stopped 2 alien invasions or whatever,
Yeah.
and he feels like he can't measure up to that.
Oh,
It's like, yeah, but it's like, what happens when the invader is Steve? Like, imagine if they would have teased that. I've seen it. I've seen it. There's another Steve Rogers out there
another Steve Rogers.
who wants to save his world, who wants to save his world just as much, if not more, than you want to save your world. What are you going to do now, Sam Wilson? What are you going to do now, Captain America? Do you have what it takes? Do you have what it takes to battle another Captain America? Imagine if that was, imagine if that is what the question was hung on, that the movie hung on. Do you have what it takes to defeat another Captain America?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like that, like presenting that as the, cliffhanger, as the stinger, like that turns the dart of a post credit scene into something that people would be like, they figured out it. They figured, like, they're really going full on, multiverse war, and they called their shot. They called their shot. There's another Steve Rogers that's coming. And are you ready, Sam? You talk all this movie about how you're not sure that you can be Steve Rogers. Well, you're gonna have to be. You're gonna have to be, because it's another Steve Rogers. There's gonna be another Steve Rogers coming for your spot. And he's coming. He's not just coming for your spot. He's coming for your world. These are things that the movie could have done, and like, and we would have sat back in our chairs like, no,
Oh, it was shit.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, listen,
it was there for the taking. It was there for the taking. So it's
I
sad
just feel
because, like, go ahead.
Secret Wars is going to be 5 hours long. Less than me. Possibly it gotta be Doom film gotta be 3.5 hours in. Because I have no idea how they're gonna set up two Secret Wars, like with everything coherent. Like what you just suggested, that will tweet would have changed the entire book. Like the real Stokes on him being Captain America.
Yes.
Like we know that he's gonna lead the next team up, whatever. But it would have put like, oh shoot, there's another student. Rogers out there that he feels like you're incompetent and he's way less ruthless. Like,
Yeah.
and it just, like, but I just said, it puts more weight to him being Captain America.
He knows that there's, whatever he's trying to do, whatever he's trying, whatever heroics he's trying to engage in, there's someone who's just as, who's, again, he's from little Steve Rogers. So he knows how committed he is. He knows how good of a leader of men, the speeches that he gives, the fact that he's able to inspire people, the fact that he's able to lead the Avengers, even people that are more powerful than him. Sam hasn't proven that yet. He wants to prove it, but he hasn't proved it. And knowing that there's another Avengers, another Captain America that's coming, now he's got something else motivating him. Obviously, yeah, he wants to be a hero, but so do they. So does that, And that's what, we don't have to get all the way into my hopes for Doomsday, but what I hope they do with Doctor Doom in this movie is articulate that in his mind, he's the hero. In his mind, he's trying to save everything. And again, going back to the thing I said before, sometimes you have to, you can't be the good guy and also save the world. And he's already reached that point in his life where he's like, you want to live? You want your universe to live? Then follow me and don't question my methods. So imagine if Doom alongside Hydra Steve, is leading an Avengers team into the multiverse, into different worlds, and saying like the only way to save reality is your world's got to be sacrificed. So they're going world to world. They're going world to world, being like, sorry, your day came up, and it's doomsday for you, and that's how we keep our world. That's how we keep our world alive.
So, in your opinion, do you think that the multiverse Avengers we're going to see that?
No, I don't think it'll be that team, but I do think that they may have elements of that. Like I would love it if there was a Killmonger that was a Black Panther, on that team, like just slight twists, you know what I mean? Just slight twists. Like you have instead of Thor, you have Hercules. You know what I mean? Like you know what I mean? Just like little minor, what's the name? Black Widow. Like Black Widow's rumored to be, to be returning, right? What if it's a Black Widow that's Taskmaster? You know what I mean? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like things like that. It's the Avengers that but like with a slight tweak. It's like Iron Man, but boom.
Yeah.
Right. Like Steve Rogers, but Hydra Steve. Black Widow, but Taskmaster, Hercules instead of Thor. Who else?
The thing you talked about, right, was the first time Peter Parker was going to see Doom.
I don't see. I don't want to do that because I really do think you want to save that. Because what I want, what I want is not quite what they're doing in Infinity War.
Yes.
Closer to what they did in Infinity War, but I really want us to like sit with the reality that if the whole multiverse is in jeopardy, like you read Time Runs Out, right?
Yes.
Read up the Secret Wars in the comics,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So in that story, it was Reed Richards and the Illuminati kind of coming to grips with the reality. They're trying to save everything, but they can't. And then eventually they get to the place where they have to sacrifice other universes in order to, you know, in order to save their own, or at least buy time to save their own, right? And that takes a time, right? But imagine where, you know, if Doom was behind it the whole time, he doesn't feel guilty about that. He wouldn't feel guilty about it, So if he's really uh piloting the craft, so to speak, if he's really the captain of the ship of, you know, of making those hard choices, you put a team around him that also, that's familiar. Because again, you don't cast Robert Downey Jr. if you're not trying to like kind of trade on the film familiarity. So that would be the tweak. But it would still be the same idea. Like his Illuminati, his Avengers, they're going about the business. They're going about the business of saving their world by destroying other worlds, saving their universe by destroying other universes. And
So we're going to see the Illuminati again.
Well, I don't know if they're going to call it the Illuminati or what, but what I'm saying is that it'll be like those Illuminati. You know what I mean?
Hashtag.
Like, I got there. And, like, but they make those same, choices and then when you finally encounter, whether it's the X-Men or whether it's Fantastic Four in their world, or, our main 616 MCU world, like, that's just a matter of them being faced with, well, these guys are hardcore. I mean, like, they have pizza on them. They've got multiple universes bodies on them, and they're prepared to go places that we never even contemplated. And that's the place that the heroes have to make, where they're like, we want to save people, but at what cost? We don't want to sell our souls. We don't want to destroy another universe and ultimately that's why they're going to lose. Because what has to happen for the Secret Wars thing is that they have to lose, and then a new universe has to be reborn out of their loss, out of the destruction of everything. So
Yeah.
and then that's why I think that should be Doom's arc, where he starts out as a destroyer, and he becomes a rebuilding, but what he's rebuilt is a perversion of, is a perversion of what, like how things should be, because Doom is in the center of it. So then in Secret Wars, it has to be like the heroes, whether they're being reawakened or whether they're being rescued from the various other parts of that world, so that they can come together and take Doom down and rebuild the multiverse in a better way. Like those two pieces of the story can work. That's how where you end with is a new universe where, it's got mutants, maybe it's got Miles Morales, you know what I mean? And then you move forward, MCU version 2.0.
And my biggest thing is those souls, they have there's responsibility with those two stories. And because they can't fuck it up. They just can't. These two stories, Doomsday and Secret Wars, they literally can't fuck this up. There's going to be like 200 plus characters. And I'm just wondering how they're going to make it. It's not wrong thing. Because I'm sure they could tell a coherent story, because they did with multiple rules. One of their best works is Captain America. And so, like the thing is, it's like, but that, it scares me a little bit because of the scale. Because when people just see Captain America brave new world, people are like, where did this come in? Really? It's nothing to think too much, basically. So I just feel that this is not a wrap. I feel like Sequence isn't a wrap on the multiverse. I feel like it's
not that it has to be. I do think that has to be a wrap up of sorts of the multiverse.
Yes. But this is the last time we've talked about the multiverse. No, it can't be, because the best stories came from the multiverse.
Yeah. Sorry. But I mean, again, going back to how Secret Wars in the comics ends, you know, I think that I think that where it has to go, if we're going beyond Secret Wars, is we get one prime universe where almost all the characters that we've met along the way between Doomsday and Secret Wars, the ones who've lived, they get brought into the prime universe, and then someone else. Now, my prediction, comment slash suggestion is that in the comics, Reed Richards and the Fantastic Four stay behind to rebuild the multiverse. In my version of things, it's Wanda Maximoff.
So she's like the beacon for the rebuilding the universe.
Yeah, who better than someone who's proven to have shown an ability to reshape reality, who's shown an ability to kind of like they talked about the idea of a nexus being. They haven't really defined it, but whatever. Like she's already traversed the multiverse in Multiverse of Madness. She's already had contact with other versions of herself and been able to commune, been able to commune with them. And, so her coming back to basically turn tide and her coming back to bring everybody together, so that they can take down Doom, but then say, and again, this is a good way of giving her a redemption arc too, because she got up to some chicanery, in Multiverse of Madness, and, being able to like know that her children are alive and her children are going to have a future, would provide enough incentive for her to go about, rebuilding the multiverse and knowing that there are going to be versions of the multiverse where she does have the happy family. You know what I mean? Like it gives her like a divine purpose, and it gives her like, like an opportunity to be the savior,
Yeah. There's a
in a way, yeah, in a way that, like she never got to be before. When she tried to do it in WandaVision, it was a little bit shaky, And in fact, this was a conversation that I had when Giancarlo was on the show. Imagine if the various worlds of Battle World were themselves like somewhat like TV show influenced. Imagine if or movies, you know what I mean? Actually, not TV shows, but movies, right? So imagine if there was like a Blade Runner world, right? A Jurassic Park world, a Fast and the Furious world. You know what I mean? And the various heroes were in, was spread out into those worlds. And that's kind of like how you would realize that Doom had somehow harnessed the power of his Wanda Maximoff, in his
yeah.
world to save the multiverse. That he
So
used her power. He used her power to pull together the remnants of the broken multiverse.
yeah, that's a
And
little
and if
less
you
safe.
and if you think about it, right, what is the Avengers call to arms?
But
That's what he's doing.
yeah.
He's assembling these pieces, right? But what needs to happen is that it's got to be assembled in a different kind of way, like, so when the Avengers assemble, they're not just assembling, they're not just assembling in one world, they're assembling in a bunch of different worlds because they've got to take Doom down and they've got to, rebuild the multiverse.
Right.
And I think it
Yeah.
could work. Yeah, I think it could work, and I'm hoping. Obviously, the scripts haven't been written, but I'm hoping that they've been watching the movies like I've been watching the movies, and they see these threads that could be tied together. Now, unfortunately for Sam, like, this is a character that, bringing it back to this movie, don't. I think that one of the reasons that the movie is a little bit less satisfying than it should be is that they don't really give him they give him a moment of doubt, right?
Yeah.
But it's not fully present. Like if we mapped out Sam's arc from the first frame of the movie to the last frame of the movie, he doesn't change that much. You know, he doesn't really change that much. He starts out as Captain America, going on missions for the government. Where he sort of ends is, I guess I'm going to rebuild the Avengers.
I guess I have to.
Yeah, but not really why. Like, there's not really a why to that, right? Like, because he kind of said yes. He kind of said yes when Ross asked him. At least he was entertaining it.
Kind, you know, that's saying
He was entertaining it, but we don't know. Like, his argument for why he wasn't sure about it was because, back in the Sokovia Accord days, he wasn't prepared to, just be following following orders.
So
I don't think the movie really. I don't think the movie fully got us to the point where when Sam says he wants to reform the Avengers, he means he wants to reform them not under the auspices of the government. I mean, presumably that's what he's doing, but there's another reading of the movie that it's just a new president, and now he trusts this new president more than he trusts Ross. You know what I mean? Like,
what's the agent's name? The main agent?
I want to say Taylor.
Agent Taylor, yes, Agent Taylor. So yeah, like that's the first thing she said to it. That's the first dialogue she had having open road. And so I think that, for us, we catch that, right? But for general viewer, they're like, what? So he's gonna make the Avengers again? So like, but for us, it's a C being planted by Marvel, by the MCU.
Right. But again, like, just to sorry to cut you off, but it's like he's not the Avengers that Ross is imagining is not the way that the Avengers were.
Yes.
All he's really saying is like, it's like Sokovia Accords Part 2, right? Not exactly, right? But it's in fact it's actually worse because it's at the behest of the U.S. government and not the UN. It's not an international organization. It's a patriotic, you know what I mean? It's a patriotic, loyal to the U.S. government Avengers. And I can understand why Sam would be reluctant to form that Avengers team.
He brought up 3 good points. He was like, because he disagreed. And we see what happened with that. Like, and it just, I see it, I see conflict already 20 steps ahead.
Now imagine if, and again, I keep going through these different scenarios the movie could have done. Now imagine if there was a mid-credit scene, right? Where Sam is like, he gets on the phone or the video phone or whatever with Captain Marvel, right? Who's out in space, who's obviously not accountable to any one government. You know what I mean? And he's like, hey, let's get the Avengers going again. You know what I mean? Like, when you do it that way, you know that he's not doing it like as a U.S. government thing.
Joe.
He's like, you know what? Ross had a good idea about me forming the Avengers, but we're going to do it our way. You know? And since the implication is that, like, Captain Marvel's out in space, so maybe it's going, you know what I mean? Like, maybe the Avengers are going to set up a base in space. Or someone else had suggested that, it's a big hole too, that the Avengers set up their base on Celestial Island. You know what I mean? That, like, Celestial Island has been a place of a lot of conflict. All these governments, claiming that they should have access to it. This is where the Avengers are going to be. It's under the protection of the Avengers. It belongs to everybody. You know what I mean? But then I think in order to make that happen, he would have had to already have a team in place to hold that.
That's all I remember.
But I think that I don't think it's enough. I really don't. I don't think it's enough to go from he didn't want to form the Avengers and now he does. Like, I think that's enough of an arc for Sam to go from, I was doing my own thing with me and Joaquin, and now I just want to have a bigger team.
Yeah. Now, Sam Wilson, Anthony Mackie, right? Do you see him being Captain America beyond Secret Wars?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I don't see what's the name coming back full time. I don't see Chris Evans coming back full time.
Because like that was a big concern I had too after watching this movie. You know, like I love him as Captain America. I love him as Captain America. I just don't like they like I told you before. It seems like they're just going like they're not doing like this anymore. The MCU they
Well,
got
well, no, but what I also think will probably happen is that I think that I won't say I don't know if this will be the last Captain America movie, but I definitely think it's going to be the last Captain America movie for a while. And I think that his story is going to transition into the Avengers. So I think that going forward, he's going to be associated with the Avengers.
like
So,
rather than just take. Okay,
like,
okay, I get what you're saying.
yeah. So, and I think, like, honestly, I see the same thing for Captain Marvel. You know, like, I see their future as the co-leaders, the co-captains, if you will, of the Avengers. You know, that if you put Sam and Carol together and you say they're they're in charge of forming the Avengers, I think most people would buy them as the two leaders of the Avengers, not just in those next movies, but in future MCU movies. And then it kills two birds with one stone because as to the performance of the Marvels, they may not want to do another Captain Marvel movie. And after the performance of this movie, they might not feel like they can do another Captain America solo movie. But you put them together, you put them in the Avengers movies, and now, you've got a strong base. They can be the assistant and you can cycle out, you can cycle in and out different members. But as long as there's a Captain America and as long as there's a Captain Marvel, people will say this is a valid Avengers team.
Yeah, because you got the morale, which like this cat it changes because he's just a person. He doesn't have the certain you have the morale and the work. And but that's a dangerous combo when you have friends like you have friends with them in your team. Like that's needed also. It's
Especially
a
if they
dangerous
both,
combo.
especially if they both respect each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's one dynamic. I mean, it's a good story dynamic when you have tension, you know, but in this instance, optics of it would be troublesome of what a black man and a white woman who can't get along. You know what I mean? Like, so together, if they respect each other, if they are like, two peas in a pod,
Yeah.
like it makes up for the fact that like one is kind of like more down to earth and one is more like, super powerful,
Yeah.
you know, because one thing that we can say about Sam is that they've done the work to make Sam a real well-rounded character. They they should have been doing more work to make Carol a more well-rounded character, but she's definitely got the power. She's definitely someone that we respect in terms of her power scale, in terms of her ability to be a threat. So putting the two together, you have the person that, has the character, has the heroism down pat, and then the person that has the, oh, what's on? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? In terms,
Yeah.
like,
Was it's similar to right? Was Sam with comic obviously? Was it Sam and Cat? I can't remember. You might remember. So I
oh,
don't.
no, they were both, remember, there were two caps at the time.
That's
Because
right.
Civil War
Okay.
Two, because Civil War Two led into Secret Invasion.
Mm-hmm.
And we find out that Steve was already evil at that point.
Secret agent.
You know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like he was, I wish they could have done it more explicitly, but basically, like he was part of what he was engineering is that because of Civil War Two, the Avengers were more fractured than ever. And then when he was offering to step up, like everyone was happy. He was going to step back into the role because they needed it. Everybody was like, yes, let's, and to the point where even when he said, I want to take over Shield, everybody was like, I guess this is not like you, Cap, but sure,
Yeah.
and then that's when he does the villainous, like
Storm around the
villainous
room.
turn. Okay. So Sam was there, and then we find out that Sam was the evil Steve had been undermining Sam's confidence the whole time.
Yeah.
Like times where you would have expected Steve to build Sam up. He's like kind of like backhand complimenting him. You know what I mean? Like saying little things and, feeding into the not my cap,
Yeah.
feeding into the not my cap stuff because, you find out like down the line that he wanted Sam to not trust him and sort of give the shield back to him,
Yeah.
like,
The night
like,
rise. Set his ass
yeah.
up.
So I hope they don't go that route. You know what I mean? I hope they don't go the
Yeah.
route of like Sam's been undermined enough. He can skip over, especially if you introduce Hydra Steve in Secret Wars, then you can play that out in a better way because now you're dealing with the twisted mirror, and you can have Sam confront his fears, confront his anxieties about not being good enough, but actually having to take out, the shadow Steve.
Yeah.
We'll be able to talk past shit. You know what I mean? Like he'll be
That
like, my Sam was a punk ass bitch. So I'm sure you are too. So my Sam, he tried to be Captain America too, and he can't get either. You know what I mean?
yes.
Just give voice all of the doubts and the insecurities that Sam is struggling with, but as a
Yeah.
film, you know, and that can be part of what he has to overcome, in Doomsday.
Yeah. Wow. I'm gonna say the whole right thing about this shit. I'm gonna write all this shit down now. Thank you. We appreciate
You
it.
know,
Like sleepless night.
yeah. So I mean, so again, all that is to say that the movie fell short. The movie fell short in a lot of ways, but it didn't completely drop the ball in terms of setting up the future of the episode.
Yes.
There's
It
still
wasn't a
there's
bad movie. It wasn't a bad movie.
but again, unfortunately, we live in a world where it's very binary. It's either perfect, unimpeachable, no flaws, no notes, or it's trash. You know, so because again, we talked a lot about things that we could have improved about this movie, and we still liked it. I think there are a lot of people that they can't get past the flaws. You know, that that's what it is. They see things that were not good, and to them it brings the whole movie down. Just brings the whole movie down and says because they couldn't have done because they didn't do A, B, and C, it was irredeemable. And I think that's the bad. You know, if you're, I get it. If you're not a Marvel fan, I get it if you're not a fan of these movies and you're not invested in these movies. So if your whole thing is I want to be thoroughly entertained and I want to overcome the fact that I don't even like these movies, then I get this movie not being good enough to meet that bar. You know, but someone said it best on Twitter, ironically. It's unreasonable to go into every Marvel movie expecting it to be the best one ever. Sometimes, sometimes the movie's gonna be just fine. It's gonna push the ball forward, and build up to what might potentially be the best movie ever. What this isn't. Listen, I love all three of the previous Cap movies. I I I don't think this is better than any of the three. I think you can make an argument if you didn't like the first one, which I know some people didn't like the first one, but I love the first one. So for me, this movie doesn't live up to the other three Cap movies. But again, I love those movies. So it doesn't make the movie not a good movie. It just, you know, I look at it as the Steve Rogers movie started here. They got better. They progressively. I mean, I still think that Winter Soldier is better than Civil War, but Civil
I did.
War was more ambitious movie with a broader scope, and it did make more money. You know what I mean? Like, so it's probably unfair, even though it's the fourth Kent movie, to compare it to the second
First
and
one.
the third
Yeah.
uh Steve Rogers
Absolutely.
movies. You know, maybe you should be comparing it to the first Cap movie. And I think if you do that, then it's a lot more favorable,
It is.
you know, because you could at least say it's a starting, you know,
I need a hashtag. Give me a hashtag for that.
you know, if you look at it as this, I mean, I know technically Falcon and Winter Soldier was the starting point, but if we're being honest, that had its flaws too,
It did.
you
It
know.
did. Story was never
So
replaced that.
yeah, I liked it, but I can, I feel like that didn't completely serve, Sam as a character either. It had a lot of cool things in it, but just like this movie, it had some flaws and then some missteps as well.
Yep.
So, ultimately, I mean, I don't know if, we'd probably leave it there after I say this point. We got to figure out how comfortable we are in terms of when we make these movies and when we talk about these movies with the racial element. We're two black people, so we're fine talking about race. But I think that a lot of the critics aren't comfortable. A lot of the white critics aren't comfortable with the realities of race. And I think that, unfortunately, I think the filmmakers, obviously Malcolm Spellman is a black man and Julius Ona is also black. So I think that they may have wanted to go to some places with respect to race, but it feels blunted. It feels like there was room for a sharper critique that maybe some of the rewrites found their way into, like I said, blunting these critiques, because it's so clear that part of what's happening when we talk about the, the conflict of what it means to be Cap, especially that last speech when when Sam's talking about how he can't mess up, he has to be perfect, he has to be on point all the time because he's not allowed to fail. I mean, that's blackness. That's being a
Definitely not.
black man. You got to be twice as good in order to get half the credit. That is the reality. And it's something that in Falcon the Winter Soldier, they were much more comfortable directly addressing, but for whatever reason, they kind of danced around it.
Yeah.
And I think that as black people, we could say we understand why they might, especially in the current political climate, especially what's happening in America right now, and what's happening suddenly, what's happening in the field,
Yeah.
like there are a lot of people who claim to be not racist who are very clearly showing they're racist now,
Like,
and they feel comfortable in their racism. So
yeah.
if you're Marvel and you're now being confronted with the reality that a not insignificant portion of your fan base is racist, that presents the movie with challenges that they never had to deal with before.
Hey,
Like how do you market your movie to people who don't want to respect a black superhero, let alone a black Captain America? You know, like I feel like with Black Panther, they were able to get so many black people who were not core Marvel fans to show up for the movie that they were able to nullify, plus it was an environment. We were in an environment where racist people were not comfortable showing their racism. So there were a lot of white people, honestly, we can talk about this now. There were a lot of white people who just knew that if they criticized the movie, people would be like, oh, so you still hate black people.
yes. Like in
Well,
level 6, the movie
they were,
has black in it.
so they were, there were a lot of white critics that maybe didn't fuck with Black Panther that were just afraid to say they didn't fuck with Black Panther. But where we are now as a society and as a culture, they're not afraid anymore. Where we are, we've got a lot of people that are just like, I just don't really think that Sam is in the same level as Steve. I just don't think I don't really think he should be Captain America. And
Yeah.
and it clearly be because, and it clearly is because they don't relate to him. They don't care about his struggle. They don't want to care about his struggle. So therefore, they're not going to give him the benefit of the doubt. So as a movie, as people making the movie on the Marvel side, when you know that it's not going to be received the same way, I think that leads to them making, the saying "scared money don't make money." You know what I mean? These are scared money choices. They don't want to challenge the audience. They don't want to present them with these, harsh political. It's ironic. Like most Captain America movies have been political. This movie seems like it's running from the political.
It's trying
And I
to
think
make
it's
the focus go to Captain America and not politics. Captain America.
well because and in their defense, the ground shifted beneath their feet. When this movie was written, we thought we were going in one direction as a country. And when this movie came out, we saw that we were going in another complete opposite direction. Imagine what this movie would have been like if Kamala Harris was president.
She would have went to see it.
She would have been, or they would have, like, I think they would have leaned into certain things. I think they would have leaned into certain aspects of what Captain America represents as a black man, as Captain America.
Anthony Mackie would have been in the White House right now.
And, you know, and I mean, obviously the final cut of this movie happened, before the election. But, if it was more clear, that there would have been a rousing victory for the Democratic Party and that, Republicans would have been defeated and Trump was, we were past the specter of Trump. I think the movie would have been much more emboldened to take strong political stances and strong racial stances. And once they saw that the tide had shifted, I mean, you saw it on the Disney side, and they saw that the tide had shifted, and they saw that, there was this whole movement against quote unquote woke, um, art. And, I think it made them scared. I think it made them, uh, you know, make creative choices that reflected that fear. And I think the movie suffered because of it.
Yeah.
And I wish we were in an environment where people making a movie weren't so afraid. Because if we're being honest, everything that's happening right now in the government suggests that they have a right to be afraid.
Do you even have to say anymore? Please, just become a senator, please. Like tomorrow.
I mean, happy President's Day, everybody.
Shit.
Happy President's Day, everybody, because there's no Anthony Mackie, there's no Sam Wilson that's going to swoop in and save us from what's in front of us. We're just happy that we don't have a Red Hulk for president. I might choose the Red Hulk as my president over the actual president.
What American are you?
Yeah, I mean we're hurtling towards that reality. Maybe we're in the dark universe. Maybe we're in the branch of the multiverse that where some bad choices were made.
Awesome decisions.
But hopefully we live and the country survives long enough for us to actually get Secret Wars. But yeah, like I said before, we wish we had a Captain America to save us from this.
Yeah.
So that's my final thing. I don't think I can say more than that. So
but overall out of 10, what would you give it?
can I use percentages?
Okay. 100%.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I'll give it somewhere between. I'll give it a 6.9 or 69%.
Okay. Okay.
It's not. It's better than average. It's not quite. It's not quite what I would consider like a B. but it's not a C either. It's like, yeah, it's like a B minus. It's like a B minus C plus.
I would out of uh the 10 and 100%, I would give it a 72.
And
So
yeah, we were about the same place.
yeah, the movie does use of the movie is great average. It has like major like just fill-outs. However, if you just need a movie experience, you will enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, it's work. I've seen it twice already. I would definitely watch it again when it's on Disney Plus again. I will be there probably, if not day one, first weekend. Rewatching it. If I have some time and I'm in the area and it's still in the theaters, I might, watch it again. But I'm not necessarily telling people they need to run out, drop everything, and go see it. I understand if they say that they want to wait, I'll be disappointed, but I won't say, and you're missing out.
That's crazy. You missed out on something. Yeah, that.
But if you watch it, I expect you to like it, but maybe not love it.
Yeah. And for me, all time MCU is ranked 14.
Ranked 14?
Yeah.
Out of there's been 30 movies.
Yeah, no, it's right in the middle. It's right in the middle. It's not good, not bad. Right in the middle. It's something that I would suggest, but wouldn't push.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, I haven't done my MCU rankings in a long time, but there was, like I said, I rank it behind all three of the other Captain America movies. And again, those movies are all in my top 10. So that's not necessarily enough, but obviously I rank it behind all the Avengers movies, and I rank it behind both Black Panther movies. I rank it behind Black Widow. I think think Black Widow's better.
Slightly.
I like Black Widow.
Black Widow. I just
I
didn't
think
like that.
because I think Black Widow, if we're comparing the two, I think that Black Widow was as good as it could have been given the challenges.
Landscape, yeah.
Whereas you can look at this movie and see where it could have been better. That's so if you Black Widow was better than it had a right to be, given the challenges. So that's another movie that I'll gladly watch. Plus, I think it had stronger, definitely better dialogue and much stronger emotional beats. There's scenes in that movie that hit me to the point of tears. It's a powerful movie. What they were doing. This movie was much lighter. It was supposed to originally come out in the summertime. It felt like a summer action popcorn movie. And it's not bad. It's just that in terms of when you're doing the recommendation game, it's nah, man, respect this movie, respect the fact that it pulled on heartstrings, whereas this is a movie where you're yeah, it really pulled on heartstrings, but it was fun. That was a good time. So, long story short, it was a good time in the theater, but it's not gonna change the world.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Change the world if it would have not seen it, at least it just to. Yeah, we'll leave it there. You can tell people where they can find you.
I'm on all socials. My name TJ Stukes, Stukes. Just type it up. You'll find it anywhere. I also have a podcast, and I hope you'll thank for joining me for more. And
what's the name of the podcast? You got to tell people the name of the podcast to get a little for it.
It's called the Hear Me Up Podcast, and it's on YouTube primarily, but I promote it on TikTok and Instagram. You can find me on Netflix, the Squid Game Challenge, and the movie Hustle. And I have a few more projects coming up that are really
and the invite is always open if you want to pop up and talk about them. So,
the projects are real big. If you haven't seen me for a while, I'm on the project. But that, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It's always a good time talking because comic book heads, movie heads, that's what we need.
Yeah, sure. And you can find the Racial Draft Podcast anywhere podcasts are found. You can also find us on YouTube. Like and subscribe. After you listen to this podcast, go ahead and like it and listen to our podcast. You can also find us on TikTok, on Instagram, on Twitter, on Blue Sky, and again, anywhere you listen to a podcast, Racial Draft Podcast. If you're listening to us now, go ahead and tell your friends, share the podcast.
Why not?
We do our racial drafts multiple times a year. We're still doing our thing. But, if you were just here for the Captain America talk, that's fine too. We love a listener. We love good comic book discussion. You can hit us with feedback on all the socials. And you can also hit us at racialdraftpodcast@gmail.com. But until next time, all things are possible.